a super far off realm from folk style, but they do intertwine. It's just about, again, being on the mat so you can figure it out for yourself. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the differences
Yes. So
between folk style and freestyle?
to make it simple, folk style is like controlled, right? Lots of rules. You can't do this, you can't do that. They have 3 positions: top, bottom, neutral. Freestyle is what it sounds like. It's basically like a free-for-all. You can throw people backwards onto their head. You can throw people. They have parterre, which is basically where one person is flat and the other person is on top, and you have an opportunity to like roll them, I guess. But that is like what's the word? That's like the world, I guess you could say the world version of wrestling, because folk style is like westernized, like Japan, Asia, Africa, they don't really do folk style. It's freestyle. Yeah. So that's kind of the biggest difference, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really exciting. It also
Yes.
sounds a little dangerous.
It can be, but I honestly will say over the summer I found myself having more injuries in folk style than I have freestyle, which is crazy because you're like, well, you're getting thrown in all this stuff. Like, it sounds more dangerous, but I think it just depends, you know. I've of course, have been blessed to not have any, like, crazy injuries, but I also think because I'm really strong and compact that my body's able to handle a little bit more, but it's different for everyone, yeah.
Well, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to come up after you, somebody who looks at you and says, wow, I want to do what she's doing?
I think the best advice that I would give to anyone who might want to follow in the footsteps of someone great, and not just me, but anyone, is figure out your why. You know, I feel like a lot of times people are doing it for their parents or because they have a legacy they want to fulfill, or, you know, whatever the case may be, but figure out your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through the hard practices and the hard training every day? Why are you sacrificing time with your family and your friends and, you know, going out and partying? Like, why? What is your why? And when you figure that out, intertwine that into your training, you know? When you have a hard practice, okay, why am I doing this? Okay, I'm doing this because I know God has a plan for me. Why am I doing this? Okay, I'm doing this because I know my mom, you know, she wants me to go out there and do my best. You know, figure out your why and figure out your purpose as far as what you're doing in the mat room, and try and intertwine that into your wrestling career. Because I think not just in wrestling but in life, going anywhere or trying to figure out a path for yourself without having a why or reason, it's hard. You know, you find yourself lost a lot of times, not really knowing what I'm going to do, but honing in on why you're doing what you're doing and what you think is the best outcome for yourself, it helps. So figure out your why.
Figure out your why.
Yeah, figure out
Okay.
your why.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
a good thing to think about. Have a good
Yes.
why to keep you grounded.
Every day I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, okay, like, I've worked so hard. I've been doing this for 4 years. Like, might as well get it over with, you know? Like, figure out my why.
Figure out. So what is your why?
My why is, I do believe that I was given these athletic, academic, and I think physical abilities to show people that you can do it. Whether you've been doing it for 2 years, whether you've been doing it for 10 years, you can do it, you know? You have to have a little faith in God, of course, but honing in on, I guess, betting on yourself. That's a big thing for me, is betting on myself and telling myself, like, hey, like, I can stand with the big guys. Like, I'm good enough to be here, you know what I mean? And I think, too, allowing myself to have, like, grace. I have this big pedestal. I'm a 2-time state champ. I'm a national finalist, all this stuff, but I'm human, too, you know? And I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to fall, and, you know, this, that, and the third. But as long as I'm honing in on having faith in myself, having faith in my training, like, I know it'll be okay.
You're going to go far. You're
I hope
going to
so.
go places.
I'm like, I hope.
Oh, man, I just can't wait to, like, sit here again with you in, like, the next
Yes!
10 years and just see what's
I
happened
hope,
since then.
yes, of course, yes.
What do you think we'll be talking about?
10 years, I don't know. I hope to be maybe on, like, a world team, definitely in college still or working to get my other degree. I want to be a doctor in psychology and do forensic psychology. So hopefully something around that realm. But as far as sports, I mean, just the same thing I'm talking about, like getting better every day, being the best version of yourself, you know, allowing grace, right? Like those kind of things.
Yeah, well, I do look forward to that.
Yes, me too. Oh my gosh. That's a crazy thing to think about, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think that's a good place to end here. Thank you so much,
Thank
Cindy
you for
Davis, for
having
being
me.
here, and thank you all for
Yes.
tuning in to the Porterland Report. My name is Carrie Silva. Have a nice day.
When the lights go out.
Show cocktails, crafted by RSRV Collective, where sophistication meets self-discovery. These non-alcoholic, ready-to-drink cocktails deliver bold, complex flavors, the art of mixology without the effects of alcohol. Whether you're celebrating after the game or winding down after the grind, Kensho brings the flavor, the vibe, and the balance you deserve. Order yours now at rsrvcollective.com, and don't forget to use promo code FSEN for 30% off your order. Kensho Cocktails. Discover your moment.
Collage diverse collection designed to stand out and make a statement wherever you go. Designed in sunny Los Angeles and handcrafted with precision, A-Color sunglasses deliver durability and comfort, keeping you stylish and protected all day long. Use promo code FSEN and get 10% off your entire order.
For clarity, this is Distill Union, where smart design meets real life. From wallets that snap shut just right, to eyewear that's built to last, every detail is made to simplify your day. No flash, no fuss. Just clean lines, clever function, and modern style that moves with you. Distill Union, smart by design. Simplify your everyday. Use promo code FSEN and receive 20% off your entire order.
Without the express written consent of EBH Fitness LLC.
Every score, every story, every voice that matters in the borderland. This is FSEN Daily. Sports Entertainment News. If it matters here, it matters here.
Hello and welcome to FSCN Daily. I'm your host, Carrie Silva, and today with me I have author Michael Parker and his book, Don't Thank Me for My Service, Allow Me to Explain. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. So first of all, I have to ask about the title. Don't Thank Me for My Service, Allow Me to Explain. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose this title and what other runner-ups you may have had?
It started out, the title was Don't Thank Me for My Service. That was it. I decided to put the extra part to it, allow me to explain afterwards, because I didn't want to come off as being aggressive or unthankful or ungrateful for people saying those words. But I wanted them to understand why they should say it and what it should come from those words. It should be more than just words, like going on a car lot and you talk to a carman and the first thing the car salesman asks you, and you say, I'm just looking. I didn't want it to be that type of conversational piece. I wanted you to hear it from not only from me, but from other service members that I've talked to and met and had experiences in life with, and how we perceive those words. So I put Allow Me to Explain. That kind of changed the title a little bit. But the Don't Thank Me for My Service, of course, is kind of provocative. It's supposed to start a conversation.
Okay, so you wanted to provoke a conversation.
Yeah. Which is also why the flag is on the cover of the book. Normally that flag, when you see it represented in that format, it's when it's what we call a trifold. tricorn, excuse me, a tricorn. It actually represents something too, because what happened was, the story behind the flag is, it was based off of the Revolutionary War. And in the Revolutionary War, when they wore their hats, they were shaped like that. I don't know if you remember it in history or not, but they used to wear the hats and they were in a tricorn. Later on, what happened is, we decided we needed a way to transport the flag. I'm saying we as in Americans, to transport the flag. We didn't have any symbolism behind it at all. It was just an easy way to transport the flag from point A to point B. We would fold it this way and keep it neat and tucked in. It would protect the flag. Later on, what happened is, it turned into a symbol that was given as gratitude, thanks, and integrity for people that served in the military. And we would give it to people in their funeral. And what we would do is, we'd make sure that we always gave it to them, and the point of the flag would always point away, so that they would hold the base of the triangle, the trifold. But it also symbolizes, that's the same shape of the flag that we get when we retire from the military. And the symbolism behind putting it on the book is, if it didn't have a meaning in the beginning when you started at, and you gave it to people that served and sacrificed their life, now you also give that same flag, shaped the exact same way, to veterans after they serve, that were fortunate enough to leave with their life. Is that all? Is that where it stops, once you give us the flag? Or is there more that has to go behind it? And that's what the book is basically about. What is the expectations of the service member? What was the agreement that we made when we enlisted? And what is the commitment to the service member from the country? And that's what that book is basically about. It's about opening that dialogue and seeing where some shortcomings have come about, some needs have been addressed. Some things are, like I said about the flag, just a symbol with no backing behind it. And what can we do to try and fix it? It's a we thing. How can we fix it?
Wow. I'll never look at the cover the same way again after that. Well, let's get right into it. So you write here on page 19 that as of 2023, 1.3 million Americans are on active duty, and that's less than 0.5% of the American population. When you add that in with 800,000 National Guardsmen, you still have more than 99% of the American people that don't have any experience with direct military service, what it is to serve. And you write a lot about this disconnect between civilians and people who have served in the military or people who are serving in the military. You refer to it as an invisible wall. Can you first tell me when you became aware of this disconnect between civilians and military servicemen and women?
I think it was more evident after I retired. The hardest question anybody ever asked me was when I retired and I'm going through the process of getting out the military, and they asked me, what do I want to do? Nobody had ever asked me that before. 27 years in the military. First time somebody asked me, what do you want to do? And then, how do I translate what I've done at a high level for 27 years into the civilian world? Even though there was programs, and we'll talk about it, they're in the book, that help you transition in and out the military, excuse me. Those programs don't break down that barrier. There's a barrier between I guess I would call it the information flow, as far as the wording that we use and the wording that you use. Like, how do I transfer MOS to civilian? What does that mean to you? It doesn't mean anything to you because you don't know what MOS means.
No, I don't.
Right. So that has to be something that is addressed. That's a wall. If I say I was a combat engineer, what does that relate to in a civilian world? In the military, combat engineer was a skill set that we dabbled in a whole lot of different realms. We did planning, design, architect. We did trenches, ditches, demo, bridge building. All of that stuff was emboldened in that one MOS. So I dabbled in a lot. And as you got higher in rank, you learn more and more in depth. But when I get out the military, I don't have what a civilian would be looking for, which is a certificate in this, a certificate in that, you know. So there's a wall there in that. I don't think that people have still, to this point, found a way to break that wall down completely. It's something that's going to take focus and understanding that there is a wall. It also comes with being a stigma. You know, most civilians think of military people as, well, they have everything and they're taken care of, and they don't know what the sacrifices and time and commitment that you put into this job so that 99% of the population don't have to do it. And that's it's different, you know. And if you're not on this side of it and you're on the other side, you don't think about it. Prime example, I was scrolling through the internet and came across, I want to say, the Breakfast Club, which is a famous radio station, and one of the retired basketball players, NBA players, suggested that America adapt a 1-year mandatory service, which is something that a lot of countries do. America used to have the draft, but a lot of countries still to this day have a mandatory service. That's one way of breaking that wall down, because now everybody has the chance, the opportunity to experience it, even for a short period of time. But they get a chance to experience what it is to be in the military. But the response from the panel that was on the radio station, it was only 3 people, told me that America may not be ready to address that yet. That's not something they're interested in.
Can you tell me a little more about, like, what was it about their response that made you feel that way?
Were
they real reluctant, or?
Their response was, oh, hell no, why would anybody want to go do that? Why would I want to go sacrifice a year of my life when I could be doing whatever? That was kind of the response from all 3. Well, as a veteran or a service member, I look at that and it tells me what? What you did is unappreciated.
Yeah.
It tells me that America really don't care about you. It tells me that it's okay for you to make the sacrifice that you did as long as that I can get the benefits from it. Which tells me why I don't want you to say those words.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You know, I think in a lot of ways, mandatory military service, you know, serving a year or 2 in the military here would be really great in so many different ways. But in one way, I think that, you know, if I'm an adversary of the United States, and I know that not only do I have to deal with the military, which I'm terrified of, but I also have to deal with civilians who have been trained by the military, I'm going to think twice. I'm going to think twice about invading the homeland.
it can be a deterrent, but I'm not saying that my opinion is everybody should serve in the military. What I'm saying is the people that do decide to serve in the military, they're doing something that you never would want to do. And they're doing it for you. They're not doing it for themselves. Because once we join the military, we don't have a voice per se anymore. We're told what to do. Back to somebody asking me for the first time, what do you want to do? When you're in the military, you don't have that. You have do this, do that, do this, do that. But
So-
it's not appreciated.
What did you want to do? Did you have any thoughts about what you wanted to do after you retired?
The crazy thing is, I wanted to continue to serve. Not so much in the military, but to continue to serve the community, the people that all those years I protected. Now you need to find a way, I need to find a new mission, which is also in the book. One thing about us is that we need a purpose. Most people that serve in the military, especially if they serve as long as I did, they need a purpose. They need something to keep them motivated. And I was trying to find that as well. What is my purpose now? How do I continue to serve my community, whether they're grateful for it or not? That's keeping me going, which is kind of what I did.
Yeah. Before we go any further, can you tell us a little bit about your life story and what led you to service in the military, and just how you came to write this book?
A little bit about me. I joined the military when I was 15. Well, actually 14, because I joined what they had at that time was called delayed entry. And when you do delayed entry, what happens is I joined the summer between my 11th grade year and my 12th grade year. No, I joined while I was in my 11th grade year. I went to basic training, AIT, which is where you learn to do basic military stuff, and you learn your job, your MOS. The summer everybody else was out of school, I went to basic training AIT for 13 weeks. And then I went back home, and I went through my 12th grade year, and then when everybody went back to school, I graduated. And when everybody else went back to school for their next year, I went to my first duty station. But I was already in the military. I was just in school in the military. So I did that, and my first duty station sent me to Germany. And from that point I stayed in Germany 15 out of my 27 years. The rest is spread out throughout the United States and Korea, places like that. So I was fortunate enough to be around a lot of people for a long time and meet a lot of people, cultures and things like that, but still you're serving in the military. And it kind of was my story. So when I retired, again, I was trying to find a purpose. What's next? I think I did everything I can do here. Normal service is 20 years, and I did 27. So after 7 extra years, I'm 7 years behind the normal people that would get out, and I got to find myself now. What do I do next? I started to, I always had a goal. I wanted to serve the community, and what it was is I wanted to give back. I always loved kids. And I was like, okay, I grew up in a skating rink or a family entertainment center. And what I did is I made it my goal to try and open one. So I did that. trying to give back to the community and realize that sometimes the community is not accepting what you're trying to give them. And I used to always hear people say, thank you for your service. And I started feeling certain ways about it. And then it took me on a trip through the book. And yeah, it kind of changed my mind. And as I got more information and talked to more service people and more people that were interacting with veterans and veteran organization groups and things of that nature, it kind of took me, man, why do people say this? Why do they say thank you for your service? What's the meaning behind it? What does it mean to them? I'm getting the information from all the ex-service members, what it means to them. But it's like that car salesman. You walked on the car lot, and as a defensive mechanism, the first thing coming out your mouth is, I'm just looking. So when you see a veteran, and the first thing, once you find out they're a veteran, first thing come out your mouth is, oh, thank you for your service.
Almost like a reflex.
That's a reflex.
Yeah.
And that reflex for a veteran, it's like, okay, but now what? I did my part. Are you going to do yours? And that brought about the book.
Okay. In the book, you write about how you come from a family that has served the military generation after generation, and how much that means to you. I wanted to ask you about that. Can you tell me what it means to be from a family of that has this history of military service, and how it should change the way civilians think about serving their country?
So coming from that background, what you get is you get a sense of pride. You get a sense of fulfillment because you feel like you're part of a tradition. But you also get to see the other side of it, which is your family members come back and they're different. Or your family members go and serve and they come home and they carrying extra baggage, per se. All those things, they build on each other. I wasn't in a situation where I was committed to actually join the military. Nobody ever told me, hey, you got to join the military. I had a partial scholarship to go to school, and I didn't want my family to pay for me to go to school. And to me, other family members had told me, hey, you go to school, they get a GI Bill. They'll pay for your school. Ding. That's my way. So that's what drove me in the military. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what is it that civilians should understand about military service but they don't?
Everything.
Elaborate on that.
It sounds like a simple answer, but most civilians that you talk to don't know anything about the military. They don't know. They may know service members. They may know that they deploy, but they don't know what's going on with that person. They don't know what they see. They don't have an inkling of how they feel. They don't understand what it is to go to the field and be in the field for 30 days. And the only people you see are your team or your squad or your platoon or whoever. And be away from everybody. And there's nothing in civilian world that kind of equates to that. It can be bond building, which it is, for the service members, but it can also be lonely. Because when we're not in the field and we're not doing an actual mission, now you got to find your tribe or your path. Some people don't find a path and they end up lonely. And that's something that civilians wouldn't understand.
Is this like what you write about when you talk about putting on the weight of the uniform?
Yeah, it is, because the uniform, everybody's always watching you, but nobody sees you. That makes sense? Because they watch you because you're in a service. It's like being a leader. They consider you a leader, but nobody sees what you lead or what your value is. You're just a uniform. And that's a disconnect.
Yeah, I imagine. Can you tell us a little bit about the GI Bill and how it's supposed to work?
The GI Bill is well, there's the one I came in, which was the Montgomery GI Bill, and now we have the post 9/11 GI Bill. So the Montgomery GI Bill was designed where the service member would pay into it, and the military would match whatever amount you paid into it. They would match that into a certain point, and then you could use that money to go to school. The new post 9/11 GI Bill is a little bit different. So it's still supposed to allow you to go to school, but they pay you a stipend for going to school, as well as they kind of pay for your education, your books, and everything else that goes along with it. Which is great to have, but the downside is less than 50% of the military service people use the GI Bill at all.
Wow, less than 50%?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you touched about this earlier, and I just wanted to bring it up. The myth of stability, in your book, you write about it, where civilians look at soldiers and they think, well, they've got guaranteed education, they've got housing, they've got health care, they're well taken care of. So why doesn't this GI Bill work for our soldiers? What's going on here? And why is that a myth?
I think the myth is not that the GI Bill doesn't work. I think the myth is that soldiers are well taken care of. While you're in the military, you're taken care of because you're under somebody's control all the time. Once you get out of the military, who's taking care of you? Who's telling you what needs to be done, how to do it, how to fill out the paperwork for the GI Bill, how to use the GI Bill? There's systems out there that talk about it. There's advertisements on TV. But nobody's actually guiding you through this process. They're just assuming you would know because you were in the military. There's a lot of service members. I mean, there's things out there like the VA benefits that you can use to buy a home. But if nobody teaches you that, it's a service that's out there. You're a veteran, you should know it. But nobody's teaching you how those inner workings work. So a lot of the programs that we do have for veterans, the problem that we have is there's no education on them. And if you don't look or know to look for certain things, you never find them. And that could lead to a lot of the things we're talking about in the book, like homeless and depression and struggles and marital issues and things of that nature, which all are common. It's not only common in the military, but it's also common in civilian world. A little bit different though when you come from guaranteed, I got a house, I got a check, I got this, I got that, and now you don't have all those guarantees.
Like all of that's just kind of been taken away from you.
Yeah. Yep. And most veterans, even veterans today, I'm sure you've heard of it, most veterans live paycheck to paycheck. Well, if you live paycheck to paycheck and all of a sudden those paychecks stop, let's say you never made it to retirement, so you don't get a paycheck, those paychecks stop. Now you got to go and convert yourself into being a normal civilian, which is different.
So, so you write in a section titled "A System That Needs Repair" that most systems are designed for veterans but not with them. And afterwards, you lay out a call for real support. And these are 5 separate ways of addressing the challenges faced by our vets. The first is rapid housing, which I was not expecting that. Can you tell us a little bit about the problems going on with veterans being unhoused in this country?
So kind of like what we was just talking about. We were talking about how veterans get out the military where they're housed, fed, paid, on time, every day. Well, you get out of that and you now have to fend for yourself. And sometimes that means going back home to wherever your parents or your family members are.
Okay.
How long can you do that? Where's the honor in that? I served my country. And so I can go live with my mom and dad? Not saying that that's bad or good. I'm saying that most civilians would never think about that. What happens to you after that, after the military? Which is the transition. We talked about at the beginning, how do we transition from what we did in the military to what we do in the civilian world? Well, if I was a mechanic, which is an example in the book, I was a mechanic and I was the best mechanic in my unit or wherever in the military, but I get out and I want to go work for a mechanic in the civilian world. First thing they ask me for is what? Where's my certifications? Where's my degrees? Where's this? Where's that? I don't have that. I got 20 years of experience though. I can fix a tank.
Yeah.
Even with people shooting at me, I can do that. But you're asking me for some paperwork, and I can't provide that to you because I don't get that from the military. There's a wall there.
Yeah, you talked about a mechanic actually in here. I wanted to bring him up. His name was Deshaun from Georgia.
Yeah.
And he actually had that experience. He went to a job interview and he was told, well, we can't verify your skills and you don't really have a degree, you don't have a certification, we're sorry. We can't hire you, even though he could work on anything. From a generator to a tank to a Humvee to your basic Honda, he could do anything. And I wanted to ask you, is this a failure of the GI Bill? Is this that invisible wall between civilians and veterans, or is it both? Is it just a failure of everything?
I would address it to a failure of understanding of both systems. It's a failure of the contract that we as veterans made with America. It's a failure of the civilian populations for not understanding what veterans actually bring to the table. There's stigmas there that are hard to break. Like most civilians, when they see that you're a veteran, the first thing they say is, oh, he's hard to deal with, he wants everything like this, this, and this. They don't take into account that even as, we'll say, the lowest ranking leader in the military is leading 7 people. The lowest ranking. If I'm a leader in the military, I'm leading 7 people. Well, Some mom and pop stores only have 3 or 4 employees. I'm managing $100 million worth of equipment, depending on my rank.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Walmart.
Yeah.
I'm controlling my level. I had 300 people underneath me. That's a Walmart. But you don't equate that as a civilian to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a breakdown there.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I do understand there's a breakdown there. I understand where the breakdowns are. I don't know if society, because it's 99% of you, it's easy to shun out that 1% and say, no, they just don't fit. But they're actually more qualified than you are
Yeah.
to do, whatever you want them to do. Mm-hmm. And they might have a little more structure to where they want to do it. But they can adapt. That's one of the things that military service members do regardless. We adapt. We adapt to our environment. Mm-hmm. We adapt to not having water. We adapt to not being able to wash. We adapt to being able to, whatever the circumstances are, we adapt.
So you said something earlier I want to go back to. What
Please.
is it that veterans bring or could bring to the civilian world if that barrier was taken out? If civilians were like, oh wow, they saw what you did and they knew your skills and they brought you into the civilian world, like what would they bring to the table?
I can't speak for every service member.
What are we missing out on, I guess? Mm-hmm.
I think adaptability is one thing you really miss out on. You miss out on leadership, understanding how to read people, understanding how to. In the military, we say leadership is to influence a person to do something that they normally wouldn't want to do against their will. That's leadership. And have them buy into the system. So instead of just showing up to work and doing a job and doing my time to get paid for my time, I'm doing it because I'm bought into your system, which ultimately would make your business what? More successful. Because now I can see myself in your business. I'm not just showing up to get a check. Mm-hmm. Military people can bring that. Can. Not all are the same. Just like in civilian life, this less than 1% of population, we got our problems too. But the ones that make it through the military and actually serve to completion of their tour, most of them they're different than they were when they came in. And they can bring a lot of things that civilian people can't. Like showing up on time. Something instilled in us from the go. Got to be there on time. Got to be there at least 15 minutes early. Why? Because you never know. You got to plan for what happens if you don't make it in time. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not something that's taught in the civilian world. We just say be there on time. So there's a lot of things that ex-servicemen can bring, service members can bring to a business. It all depends on where they were in the rank structure, on their career, their experience. I can't put us all into one big pot and say we're all this. We can all bring that. What I can say is that more often than not, what we bring is something that you don't have, and that you probably don't even know you don't have. Because you never step back and look at it the way we would. And it's not always what civilian people want to hear. Because if I create a business like I did, the worst thing people could do to me is come to me and tell me how I should run my business. I don't think military personnel would come in and tell you how to run your business. I think they would tell you how they can help you run your business. And if you take that, it can be a win-win for everybody. then you can see the value in them. They can see the value in what you're doing.
It seems to me, when I talk to veterans, I hang out with them, they are natural team players. Like, they are people who can work in a team. They can organize a team to meet an objective. They're just natural at that. Whereas I think civilians have often this more individualistic idea. Like, it's all on me. I have to do it myself. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I feel like that is a huge plus as far as like hiring a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you agree with that, or?
Yeah, because we have to depend on each other. Because there's nobody else to depend on. So we have to, as many flaws as each person may have, we have to learn how to work around your flaws to protect the group, so that we can get whatever mission we have done. Whereas in the civilian world, it's easy for me to just be mad at you and say, you know, he can't pull his weight, or she can't pull her weight because she doesn't know how to do this.
Yeah.
That's not in us. We're like, man, you know they're not good at that. Why you have them do it? So now we're holding each other accountable. Or did you teach them how to do this? Or we need to take time. We need to make sure they're able to do this, because without them, that whole scenario about the chain's only as strong as its weakest link,
Yeah.
is what we live by. Where in the civilian world, if the link is weak, I can step over that and I can get that position, or I can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And that's not what we do.